What are you searching for? A perfect job? An ideal partner? A massive fortune? Or perhaps recognition from the world? We live like beggars, holding out empty bowls and knocking on every door of life, hoping someone will pour happiness into them. We believe that the answer lies out there. We believe there is a specific door waiting for us, and if we can just find it, all our suffering will vanish, and every question will be answered. We spend our entire lives looking for the key to that door. But what would happen if you already held the key in your hand, but you spent your whole life trying to fit it into the wrong locks? What would happen if the door you are seeking is not made of wood, not made of iron, and cannot be found at any coordinate on any map? Tonight, let me tell you the story of Elian, a man who possessed the most beautiful key in the world. He wore out his shoes, walking across 7 continents, trying to open thousands of doors, only to discover a shattering truth in the final moments of his life. That key was never forged to open the world. The story begins on Elian's 10th birthday. His grandfather, an eccentric and mysterious archaeologist, called the boy to his deathbed just before taking his final breath. With trembling hands, he placed a cold, heavy object into Elian's palm. It was a key, but it was unlike any key Elian had ever seen. It was not rusted. It was crafted from a dark blue metal that shimmered like a starry night sky. The shaft of the key was carved with ancient, twisting symbols that looked like pulsing veins. And most strangely, embedded in the handle, was a translucent gem that occasionally flashed with a soft light, like a heartbeat. "Elian," his grandfather whispered, "this is the key of Ethelgard. It is said to open the door of absolute truth. Whoever opens that door will possess all the answers of the universe. No more pain, no more fear." "Where is that door, Grandpa?" Elian asked, his eyes wide with excitement. His grandfather smiled weakly, his gaze drifting into the void. "That is what you must find. Do not stop, Elian. Do not live a mediocre life. Find the door. Use this key." His grandfather passed away, leaving Elian a small fortune and a massive obsession. From that day on, Elian was no longer a normal child. He didn't play marbles, he didn't fly kites. He spent hours staring at the key. He felt an invisible pull from it. He believed he was the chosen one. Elian wore the key around his neck. It was heavy and cold, but it gave him the feeling of a great mission. He promised himself, "I will not rest until I hear the click of the lock of destiny." At 20, Elian sold his entire inheritance to begin his journey. He traveled to the oldest cities in Europe. He sneaked into the forgotten catacombs of Paris. He climbed the moss-covered bell towers of Prague. Every time he saw an ancient door, Elian's heart would pound. He would pull out the dark blue key, trembling as he inserted it into the lock. He held his breath. He turned it gently. And then, disappointment would crash down. The key didn't fit, or it fit, but wouldn't turn. The door remained closed, but Elian did not give up. "It's not here. Perhaps it is in the east." At 30, Elian wandered through the scorching deserts of Egypt and the mysterious temples of India. He became thin, his skin darkened by the sun and wind. His clothes were tattered, but the key around his neck still shone, sparkling with a magical beauty. He missed out on so much. In a small village in Nepal, a girl with eyes as deep as autumn lakes fell in love with him. She wanted him to stay, to farm the land with her, and watch the sunset together. But Elian refused. "I cannot," Elian said, clutching the key tight. "I have a mission. I must find the door. If I stop here, this key becomes meaningless." The girl cried and said, "Elian, you are looking for something that does not exist. Happiness is right here." Elian shook his head. He thought she didn't understand. He thought ordinary people could not comprehend the weight of absolute truth. He walked away, leaving behind a sincere love, plunging back into his hopeless search. At 40, Elian began to feel tired. Doubt started to creep into his mind. He had tried the key in thousands, tens of thousands of locks. The treasure vault of King Solomon? It didn't open. The gate to Shambhala? It didn't fit. The doors of the Vatican Library? Useless. The world seemed to be mocking him. There were so many beautiful doors, but not a single one was meant for his key. At this time, he met the merchants of hope, fortune tellers, con artists, leaders of strange cults. They saw his precious key and coveted it. "I know where that door is," a black market dealer whispered. "Give me 100 gold coins, and I will give you the map." Elian, in his desperation, believed them. He worked himself to the bone, carrying heavy loads, washing dishes, doing manual labor, to earn money for fake maps. He traveled to the indicated places, only to find barren cliffs or abandoned ruins. There were no doors. Obsession turned into bitterness. Elian began to hate the key. It was no longer a gift. It was a curse. It hung as heavy as a stone around his neck. It rubbed against his skin, making him bleed. Many times, he stood on a bridge, ready to throw the key into the river. He raised his hand to throw it. But then, the gem on the handle would flash, a weak but inviting pulse. He couldn't bring himself to do it. What if? The door is in the next village. And so, he kept it, and dragged his feet forward. At 70 years old. Elian was now a ragged, lonely, exhausted old man. He had walked off the edge of the world map. There was nowhere left to go. He heard one final rumor about the door of the void, located at the peak of the world's highest mountain, where heaven meets earth. With his last remaining strength, Elian climbed the mountain. Blood seeped from his cracked toes. His lungs burned from the thin air. But he had to climb. He needed an ending. Whether he opened the door or died in front of it, he would accept it. After days and nights, Elian reached the summit. There, amidst the blinding white mist, there was no castle, no treasure. There was only a solitary stone frame standing against the sky. No wooden door, no hinges, and most importantly, no keyhole. It was just an empty frame looking out into the abyss. Elian collapsed. He crawled to the doorframe. He felt everywhere, searching for a keyhole. Nothing. Just cold stone. "No," Elian moaned, a sob breaking from his old chest. "Impossible. My whole life. Did grandfather lie? Did the world trick me?" He took the key from his neck. The key was still magnificently beautiful, still shining, in stark contrast to his wrinkled, filthy hands. "You are useless," he screamed at the key. "You are the most beautiful lie." He raised the key high, intending to use his last ounce of strength to smash it against the rock. But just as his hand reached its peak, the sun broke through the clouds and shone directly onto the gem on the key. A blinding light erupted. The key began to vibrate violently in his hand. It heated up, glowing hot like a coal. Elian panicked and tried to let go, but the key seemed glued to his hand. It didn't want to be broken. It was reacting. But reacting to what? There was no lock here. In the pain and the blinding light, Elian suddenly felt a wave of heat travel from his hand, up his arm and straight into his heart. His chest ached. His heart pounded wildly. Thump, thump. Suddenly, the beat of his heart synchronized with the pulsing light of the gem. Synchronization. And in that moment of absolute silence, a voice spoke. Not from the sky, but from deep within him. Elian, look closely at the key. What is it shaped like? Elian squinted. For 60 years, he had looked at it only as a tool. He had never really looked at the shape of the ridges. Now, under the light of truth, he saw that those twisting grooves were not random. They curved, like veins. They twisted, like the strands of life. And the overall shape of the key, it was a stylized figure of a human with open arms. It was the shape of him. This key was not forged to open any door in the world. It was forged specifically, uniquely, to fit the soul of Elian. His grandfather hadn't lied. He said it would open absolute truth. The truth was, there is no door outside. Elian tremblingly brought the key toward his chest. He didn't stab it into his heart literally. He pressed it against his frantically beating chest. Click. A sound echoed in his mind. The sound of a 1,000-year-old rusty lock finally springing open. Immediately, the world around Elian changed. The stone frame on the mountain peak vanished. The mist dissolved. Elian found himself standing in an endless stream of light. He no longer felt the cold of the mountain wind. He no longer felt the pain of his cracked feet. He saw himself. But not the failed old man, Elian. He saw a complete Elian. He saw all the love he had rejected, all the joy he had missed, all the potential he had wasted. They were not lost. They had been locked deep inside him, waiting to be released. He had searched for happiness in the world, while he himself was the vault of happiness. He had searched for answers in the world, while he himself was the answer. The key was the symbol of returning. His mission was not to travel 7 continents. His mission was to understand that the key is in the hand, and the door is in the heart. Elian smiled. The first smile in 60 years that carried no anxiety. He closed his eyes. His old body slumped down beside the stone frame. But his soul had stepped through the door. He walked into a land of eternal peace, where he needed to search for nothing more, because he had become everything. When climbers found Elian's body days later, they saw a strange sight. A ragged beggar who had died in a meditative posture, his face radiant like a saint, and in his hand, there was no key. The key had vanished, or perhaps it had melted and merged into one with his heart. My dear friend, the story of Elian has ended, but I believe that somewhere inside you, this story is just beginning. Look back at your own life. Where are you running with your key? Are you trying to open the door named success? Are you trying to open the door named approval from others? Are you trying to open the door named perfect love? And every time the key doesn't fit, you suffer. You think you are not good enough. You think the world is against you. But please do not wait until your hair is gray, standing before the abyss of nothingness, to realize the truth. The key you are holding, your talent, your love, your soul, is not meant to open other people's doors. It is meant to open you. The treasure is not at the destination. The treasure is within the traveler. The answer is not on Google, not in books, not in great teachers. The answer lies in the silence within you. Stop running outside. Stop. Place your hand on your heart. Can you feel that beat? That is the call of the only door that matters. Use the key of understanding and acceptance to open it. Inside, you will find that you have never lacked anything. You are whole. You are enough. Thank you for listening. Wishing you a peaceful night. and may you soon find your way home, right within your own heart.